For £5 you can feed a family. For £10 you can feed a family.
For £2 you can feed a family.
Hey, £50 can feed a family.
Alhamdulillahi ala ni'matil Islam. والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنام وعلى آله وأصحابه الكرام أما بعد. Okay, we'll start with the su'al and the hadith. So the hadith, just to clarify what the question was. What was the question? What was the question again?
The Durood Tunjeenaa, is it authentic, or does it have
Are we allowed to read it?
Are we allowed to read it? Or does from the meaning of it, does it have any shirk involved in it? Does it raise the level of Prophet Muhammad?
Raising the level of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So in regards to citing Durood, first of all, it's on the conversation of bid'ah we had a few weeks ago about the types of bid'ah. We spoke about bid'ah hasana, bid'ah sayyah, and the bid'ah hasana was that type of bid'ah that has some asal in Islam. So there's some origin in Islam. And the bid'ah sayyah is those innovations that don't have an origin in Islam. So in regards to this Durood Tunjeenaa, I actually saw this a few years ago as well, regarding such Durood, and I think it was one of the Salafi shuyukh in Saudi Arabia. They mentioned that it has alfaz and kalimat of shirk inside, so that's why you should avoid reading this particular Durood. In regards to sending Durood in general, which is sending salutations upon the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as for that has been established from the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi, that certainly Allah and His messengers, His angels, they send salutations upon the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. O you who believe, send salutations in abundance on the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sheikh, why is a Salafi? Or not Salafi?
Okay.
I'll be honest, Sheikh, I know it from like these Medkhali Salafis in London. The Salafs, you follow the Salaf. No, not that. I mean like Salafis, like when people say, "Oh, these guys from Saudi."
So I'll mention. Let me just first answer this question. So in regards to this, the Messenger of Allah said, "Whoever recites salat." So salat, the word salah. What do you guys understand when we say salah? What is salah? Ascribed to a person, it means prayer. When it's ascribed to Allah, it means rahmah. Allah and the messengers, it means rahmah. So it means mercy. When it's ascribed to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, it means dua, because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is told in the Quran, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُم وَتُصَلِّ عَلَيْهِمْ إِنَّ صَلَاتَكَ سَكَنٌ لَهُمْ. So he said, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً, take from their wealth the sadaqah, right? They give you the sadaqah, so you take from them sadaqah, and then when you take the sadaqah, صَلِّ عَلَيْهِمْ, and do salah for them. What does it mean by do salah for them? Make dua for them. So when it's ascribed to the messenger, what does it mean? Dua. When it's ascribed to us, what does it mean? Prayer. When it's ascribed to Allah and the malaika, what does it mean? Rahmah, mercy. So sending down mercy. Allah sends mercy. So that's that. So the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُم, that will purify them. وَتُصَلِّ عَلَيْهِمْ, and send prayer upon them, send dua upon them, right? Do dua for them. And the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said as well that when the person who gives takes zakah or the sadaqah, when they give the zakah, at that time the person who's taking the zakah should say salat. He used the word in the hadith that should send rahmah upon him and his father. This is what's mentioned. Allahumma salli alayhi wa abihi. Oh Allah, send rahmah on him and on his father. And this is mentioned in Abu Dawud Sharif and other books of hadith that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to encourage people to make salah when they give zakah. Meaning, not the salah. Salah and zakah in the Quran are intertwined, but the salah in the meaning of dua. So whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions salah in the Quran, it's usually coupled with zakat. But the salah I'm talking about is the dua, right? So that's one thing. Second thing is the salutations upon the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this has an establishment in the religion. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us many ways to send salutation upon him.
Okay, the famous is the Ibrahim.
Durood Ibrahim.
Yeah.
So again, there's difference of opinion in whether, because Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Did the Messenger say that himself? Or did he say Allahumma salli alayya? This is what the scholars have mentioned. Obviously, there's a difference of opinion regarding that. But what obviously is known is that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us how to recite durood upon him, how to recite this salawat upon him in the form of durood Ibrahim. So now the question comes, can I make durood on the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Can I make salutations upon the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam with words that he hasn't taught me?
What I've heard is you can. It is you can.
You can.
As long as keep
okay. So again, us as Muslims, the way you remember last week, I had an encounter with Jehovas Witness people. They came talking about how Jehovas Witness approach healthcare and the alternatives to blood transfusion. Obviously, for us as medics, you have to deal with patients who are have different beliefs than you. So just to understand their positions and how to deal with that. So they have these things called hospital liaison committees, which I think us as Muslims, we need to have something similar. So the entirety of the UK is split up into zones, and each zone of the UK has a hospital liaison committee. So anyone in that area who needs like some help regarding some advice regarding the religion and stuff like that, when it comes to healthcare in specifically, they can go to the hospital liaison committee, and they've done it upon themselves. But what the thing, obviously, I disagree with the Jehovah's Witness. Everyone is a da'i, and everyone should be a da'i. Is good, but everyone becomes an imam in the Jehovah's Witness.
Mm-hmm.
They answer any question which they don't have a clue about. Mm-hmm. And this is what I think. This is what, because of this nature of da'wah, which obviously is a good thing in their sort of tradition, they just interpret anything as they feel like. And then someone asked as well. They said as well that how you have other religions want to make their followers more. Our religion, we want to increase our followers as well. But the Jewish rabbi told us a couple of weeks ago that our religion, we don't need a lot of followers. But it's the same in Islam.
No, they wouldn't accept others, right? I can't.
You can convert to Judaism.
No, it's just by birth.
So if your mom's a Jew, you're Jew, whether you like it or not.
Okay.
That's the way he phrased it. But you can't convert. But then they have a committee who sees if you're really Jewish or not. And you have to go through a process of learning and blah blah blah. So it's quite a rigorous process, but you can convert to Judaism. But what the point was is said فَمَنْ شَاءَ, in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whoever wants, let them believe, and whoever wants, let them disbelieve. This is what Ustad Akram Nadwi mentioned as well. Dr. Akram Nadwi, he mentioned about Islam is not really in need of numbers. We don't need to be like the Jehovah's Witness, forcing people to convert and they don't even know what they're talking about. Right? It's about people insightfully, they're believing based on reason, based on a rationale. I'm believing because of the reasons I love Islam, or because of all these beautiful things within Islam. That's why I've entered into the fold of Islam. Not just I've entered Islam for the fold of it, because that actually happened in the history of Islam when during Islamic rulership of Spain, Uqba ibn Nafi, who was the Sahabi radiallahu ta'ala anhu at the time, he was a Sahabi. Obviously, we talked about the definition of what a Sahabi was. He was born in the lifetime of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's mentioned, I think, 3 years before the Hijrah, but he never actually saw the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam close or spoke to him. So in the definition of him being born in the lifetime of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's a Sahabi in that sense, right? So when he had a governor, Musa bin Musaid, so they went to North Africa and they were conquering. They were going west. What happened was they would conquer a place, they would move on to the next town, next city, until the whole of the North Africa was conquered within like 6 months. But what started happening is the places which they conquered before started rebelling. So they had to go back. So he had to go back and do it properly. So he went back, and every new place which he conquered, he put ulama there, he established madaris there, and he made sure the people were educated and knew before he moved on to the next place. So he had to go back before he came forward. So this isn't,
How did they conquer?
So they conquered, as in they moved and they beat the armies, and people surrendered and they became Muslim, But what happened in the history of Islam as well, not a history lesson, but in general, what they used to do is they go to the place, you accept Islam, or you pay the jizya, or you have to go from here, right? You pay, but the jizya, again, people think, okay, is jizya an oppression for the non-believers? But the non-believers don't pay zakah, and the amount of jizya was even less than zakah. You're benefiting from the roads, you're benefiting from the place.
We pay taxes.
Yeah, so it's like a tax, but it's like less than what the Muslims have to pay from the zakah. Because the zakah used to go to the Baytul Mal, and it was even more than what they had to pay. So this is a big misconception regarding jizya and zakah. That the Muslims oppressed the non-believers because they made them pay jizya, but the Muslims had to pay zakah, and the non-Muslims don't pay zakah, and jizya was less than zakah. So yeah. So my point was about going back to after the tangent is, we need to be established when it comes to our faith, and you need to go forward. And I think it's a good idea as they have the Jehovah's Witness trying to bring people into their faith, and obviously we should have the same enthusiasm for da'wah, right? وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ who is better in speech than the one who calls in the way of their Lord, right? وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا and does righteous deeds, وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ and says that I am from the believers. Who is more righteous than this individual, right? Allah says this in the Quran. But at the same time, I think we need to focus on these sort of hospital liaison committees that they have. We need something similar as British Muslims, because obviously the population of British Muslims is growing. Maybe obviously in the UK there's only 5% Muslim, so maybe in the Muslim dominated areas we need the hospital committee, liaison committees, but in Islamic sense. But this should be done by people who are learned in this sort of science, maybe medical doctors who have an interest in this, or Muslim as well, or other people, because in the Jehovah's Witness they just have general people. Hospital liaison committee. I don't even know what I was talking about. Hospital liaison committee.
Going back. Now, why did you bring up the
going back to the beginning?
No, we're talking about Tunjeenaa.
Yeah, so going back to the Durood, I forgot what I was talking about. Going back to the Durood thing. So sending salawat, again, it's something that is established from the Sunnah.
Yeah.
Again,
so you're asking, can we make up our own?
Can you make up our own?
So I think as long as we are within the limits.
Well, as long as we are within the limits. So in other religions, that's what I'm saying, in other religions, they view Isa alayhi salam as son of God. In Islam, we don't do this. Itra, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam calls it itra. La tu'attiruni kama atarat an-nasara Isa ibn Maryam. Don't, have this exaggeration for me, like the people, the followers of Isa ibn Maryam had this sort of divine attribution to Isa alayhi salam. Don't make me a divine like this. But at the same time, we acknowledge that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is the khairul bashar, the leader of mankind, the master of mankind, and you can't really be excessive in his praise in the sense that without making, obviously, you're not saying, oh yeah, give me, you're not saying to the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, oh, give me this, or cure me. You're not directly asking the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but being praising him, calling him the master of mankind, calling him the most beautiful person who exists.
Right?
Mawla.
Yeah.
Again,
so is it just like a leader? So that's a different
Yeah.
connotation.
Remember last time we spoke about the word Mawla, and using it for Ustad, or using it for Mawlana.
Yes.
The word Mawla has many meanings. Some scholars have mentioned up to 40 meanings for the word Mawla. It can be patron, it can be master, it can be slave. Even the slave can be the Mawla. Yeah, the master is called the Mawla, but even the slave can be the Mawla as well in terms of inheritance.
So it's, okay.
So the Mawla is what we call kalima mushtarika, has many meanings. But my point was, even during the time of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had his companions, for example, Hassan ibn Thabit, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the famous companion, said about the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam that وَأَجْمَلُ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدِ النِّسَاءُ وَأَحْسَنُ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَرَ قَطُّ عَيْنِي. My eye has not seen anything more beautiful than you. وَأَجْمَلُ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدِ النِّسَاءُ. And an individual as beautiful as you, no woman has ever been given birth to. خُلِقْتَ مُبَرَّأً مِنْ كُلِّ عَيْبٍ. You have been created free from any defects and faults. كما خلقت كأنك خلقت كما تشاء. It's as if you have been created the way you want. So you asked Allah, Allah, give me eyes like this, give me a nose like this. It's like you chose, you designed yourself. That's how beautiful you are. Regarding the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now this can be seen as an exaggeration, but the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, acknowledged this and it was fine. Even the scholars afterwards, they said about the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammadun basharun wa laysa kal bashari, bal huwa jawharun wan nasu kal hajari. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a human, but he's not like any other human being. He's like a precious stone amongst the normal stones. He's like a jewel amongst the stones. So, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam had distinct qualities, and there's no end limit to the praise of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in that sense. And the scholars have written many books, Qasida, Burda. This is accepted by the majority of the scholars, the poem of the cloak, and then you have Dalailul Khairat, different books that people have written in terms of durood. Even the book that used to be read in our madrasa, I don't know about your madrasa, on a Thursday evening, they used to recite durood, 40 durood, but these durood were from books of hadith that the Sahaba read, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam read, a collection of 40 durood. So our teachers have compiled this. Sheikh Zakaria, rahimahullah ta'ala, had collected a book of 40 durood, and it's often recited. But these are, it's all reference and it's from the hadith. So the point was, exaggerating in the prayer.
Of this, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to look into that in a second. But the point was, using your own words in terms of praising the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, are we allowed to do that? The simple answer is yes, of course we are. But again, what you mean, without making him divine, right? Because that's, I think, the differentiating factor. But at the same time, the second thing is about experience, reading something and having an experience from it. In the Islamic tradition, for example, the Qasida Burda, the Qasida of the cloak, certain people did certain actions. For example, a bid'ah may be bid'ah hasana, and they had a good outcome from it. For example, Salat al-Tarawih being bid'ah hasana, 20 rak'ah, in a congregation, that's a bid'ah, right? But, if that had good outcome, then people would be fine with it, and they'd encourage other people to do it. For example, if I read, this is not true, but if I read, I'll tell you one thing. So there's this ayah of the Quran, Allahu latifun bi'ibadihi yarzuqu man yasha wa huwa al-latiful khabir. Yeah, this ayah, someone told me once, if you read it 40 times after Salat al-Fajr, right? If you're skin, meaning you haven't got much money, right? You read this 40 times after Fajr, and from somewhere you'll get money. Wallahi, through my own experience, it worked. Right? Maybe it was placebo effect, Wallahu ta'ala. But there's power in the words of the Quran.
It could be shaitan.
It can't be shaitan because you're reading from ayah of Quran. The effect.
Making you think. The placebo effect would be created by shaitan.
Wallahu ta'ala. But the thing is, you're not going to get sin for reading an ayah of the Quran. Yeah? And reading it a certain amount of times, and good things happening. This, in general, is allowed, but you can't think it's sunnah. To think it's sunnah is then when it becomes bid'ah.
But
this is the general rule, even when I was talking about dua after salah. Making dua after salah, after every salah loud, I think it's fine. Right? It's fine. If you think, after salah, for salah, dua is accepted. I always make a dua, right? If I don't generally do it all the time, but if someone was to think I'm doing it because dua, I know duas are accepted after salah, that is fine. But to think is sunnah, that's when it becomes problematic. In the same way, doing these a'mal, right, and thinking is sunnah, of course it's not sunnah, right? Because it's not from the sunnah to read certain things certain times. Except for, the Prophet ﷺ did istighfar 70 times a day. This is mentioned in the hadith, right? And the Prophet ﷺ said, that's why you recite istighfar abundantly. And even, he used to do certain a'mal, extra a'mal, regularly. But they obviously would construe a sunnah. So it would be sunnah to read 70 times. So doing certain a'mal or reciting certain things X amount of times, right? It's fine as long as, you're doing it, but you're not saying it's a specific sunnah. But you make it as a routine for yourself. That's how I can describe it, a routine. For example, if we gathered every single Wednesday, like we do, is this a bid'ah? This class a bid'ah? In a way it is. But if we're doing it for routine, convenient, it's convenient to gather every Wednesday for this class, then it doesn't become a sort of bid'ah. So that's one point regarding the a'mal. Regarding a'mal, doing something that's not from the sunnah. So experience. The Qasida Burda, there's a whole story behind that, the Qasida of the cloak, where Al-Busiri, he wrote the poetry about the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and the way it was a beautiful poetic way. Even non-Muslims, a guy once I met him on a plane, Christian guy, probably told you about him before, Arab guy, he knows the Qasida Burda by heart. He's not even Muslim. So because of he likes it for the literature, how amazing a poem it is, about the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. By not mentioning his name, it mentions all his attributes. What's the line of the Qasida? That's not that, is it? Am habbati rihu min tilqa'i kadhimatin. There's so many beautiful lines from it. This is a line from it. Again, some scholars say, so some people object to some of the lines of it, but they've all been explained. For example, وَمِنْ عُلُومِكَ عِلْمُ اللَّوْحِ وَالْقَلَمِ. And from your knowledge is the knowledge of the lawh and qalam. So this is like, astaghfirullah, this is the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam know ilm al-ghayb. Of course not, because Allah says in the Quran that, there's some things which we told you, some things which we didn't tell you. Right? What the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam knows is from what Allah told him. Right? This is obviously mentioned in the Quran, and they say ilm al-ghayb of the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is a completely different aqidah topic. It's another tangent in and of itself. But this is a line from the Burda that people sort of object to, saying, look, this praise of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gone too much. Too much. How can you say his knowledge is from the knowledge of the lawh and qalam? It's gone too much. You've praised him too much. Right? Shirk now. This sounds like shirk. وَمِنْ عُلُومِكَ عِلْمُ اللَّوْحِ وَالْقَلَمِ. What does that even mean? From your knowledge is the knowledge of the lawh, the tablet, and the qalam, meaning the أَوَّلُ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ. The first thing that Allah created in some hadith is the qalam, that Allah told the pen to write, and He wrote taqdeer. So everything that's going to come in the heavens and the earth, the pen wrote.
Okay, but some people say it's water and then earth.
Yeah, these are different riwayah of what some people say it's the nur al-nubuwah. أَوَّلُ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ نُورِ. There's a hadith, again, there's a story, the light of the messenger. What is the light of the messenger? Okay, this quick side note before I actually need to get into the hadith. But there's a book of hadith called the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah.
Okay.
So the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah has been published. So it was in manuscript form for a long time, and it was published by the late Habibur Rahman al-Azami, Shaykh al-Hadith. Some of the teachers of our teachers, goes back. He published the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah, but the first bit was missing. So because other scholars have referred to this book, so what's the beginning of this book. The first bit was missing, so he published the rest. There was someone who claimed that they found the first bit of that book, and a scholar by the name of Isa Himyari from Dubai, I think Abu Dhabi or Dubai, he got tricked, and what he thought, okay, this person has found al-juz' al-mafqud min Musannaf ibn Abi Shaybah, the lost portion of Ibn Abi Shaybah. The person found it, he got it, and he was really excited, and he published it. And remember, so what happened was, later on, scholars of hadith, this is when true scholarship happens. It looks like everyone is authentic in the chain, right? Because this person just got a chain from another one and just added it and added their own extra hadith. But the first hadith there was أَوَّلُ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ نُورِ. The first thing that Allah created was my light, by the Messenger of Allah. Obviously, this was added. Someone added this. They made the chain authentic, but we wouldn't know, because unless you know who was Ibn Abi Shaybah's teacher, so unless you know, did this person hear from this person, unless you memorize this in another hadith and you found this exact same chain as another hadith, you have to be a master of hadith. And subhanAllah, this is where some shuyukh of hadith in the world at that time, it wasn't long ago, only a few years ago, you could understand the brilliance in hadith. So you think at that time they had scholarship, but now there's no one who knows hadith like how they did. But subhanAllah, people picked up on it. Within one glance, some scholars were actually able to understand this is not authentic chain. Even though the people in the chain are authentic, so-and-so didn't hear from so-and-so. This hadith has been this chain has been taken from a different hadith. And we know that this is not from the Masanid of Abu Hurairah or from the narrations of Abu Hurairah, because it's not found elsewhere. There's no Tawabi and Shawaahid, which is today's topic, for this, right? So again, they were able to spot it, and this is the brilliance of the scholars of Hadith. So the second point was, in regards to these durood, don't be excessive, but you're allowed to pray the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's no end to his praise, right? But in excessive means don't make him divine. But so that's the third thing is, reciting durood. Is it allowed to recite specific ones? Obviously, you look at the word, and I've seen certain scholars object to durood taj. They say there's words of shirk there.
But in this is it, send upon our Master Muhammad a prayer through which you deliver. So why does it says Allah needs Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to deliver something for us, right? So
okay, let me read this. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Mawlana Muhammadin salatan tunjina biha min jami'il ahwali wal afati wa taqdi lana biha jami'il hajat wa tutahhirna biha min jami'i sayyat wa tarfa'una biha ala darajat wa tuballighuna biha aqsa al ghayat min جميع الخيرات في الحياة وبعد الممات إنك على كل شيء قدير. So this is mentioned, but with the wasila of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying that through the barakah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, forgive me, or through the barakah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, give me. And I think this is not asking the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, oh Messenger, you give me. This Allahumma, oh Allah. Yes. So the dua is to who? Allah. The dua is to Allah, but obviously the durood is through the blessings of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in my understanding, there's no problem in this. If a person was to recite it, they can recite it. But at the same time, I'll mention what I mentioned in the beginning. There's plenty of durood mentioned in the books of hadith, transmitted by the Sahaba, transmitted by the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself on how to do durood. So you can, obviously it's best to suffice on them. If someone wanted to read this, and they had this experience, I know, okay, this miraculous experience of this guy. To be honest, I've heard this before. I've never found it.
Looks very skeptical.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to be skeptical. No one's saying that's the thing. When people send these sort of text messages, it's okay to be skeptical, and we should, because Allah commands us in the Quran that if someone gives you news, then you should confirm it, right? You should confirm it. But at the same time, I think it's really important to if someone's reciting this durood, right, it's fine, let them recite it, and they get good things, they feel that evil is going away from them, and they feel goodness is barakah is in their life, then wallahu ta'ala alam, barakah is in their life. What is barakah? Barakah is sort of a person perceiving barakah, and barakah is in the durood. So if you're reciting this as a durood of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then inshallah you'll be rewarded, because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever sends one salutation upon me, man salla alayya wahidan sallallahu alayhi ashran, Allah sends 10 salutations upon them, or 10 rahmas upon them, because when we ascribe salah to Allah, in His rahmah, mercy, and in some narrations He forgives one of their sins, He increases the darajat. There's so many virtues, authentic virtues of reciting durood of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It doesn't mean you have to stick to the words. If you read this durood, it's fine. Allah ta'ala alam. Durood the Taj as well. I don't know about the wording of that, but if it's in the same of wasila, the reason why they object is because there's a famous difference of opinion in the wasila. In using the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam's name as a form of barakah. The intercession, not the intercession. Everyone agrees with intercession. No one from the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, no one disagrees that the Messenger can intercede for you. Because the Messenger is very clear, mentioned in the Sahih Hadith, meet me at the hawd. Whoever drinks from this hawd, I will intercede from them. Whoever recites X amount of durood on me, I will intercede for them. Wajabat, again some hadith, whoever manzarani wajabat lahu, wajabat alayya shifa'at, wajabat shifa'atu alayya, wajabat shifa'a alayya. Whoever visits me, then, the shafa'a intercession becomes wajib on me. Again, these hadith, obviously, they're a bit weak. This particular hadith I'm talking about, but the hadith of shafa'a are famous and accepted to an extent. I can say the mutawatir in terms of the meaning. Allahu ta'ala alam. So this is regarding this end of chapter. Is that understood?
Yeah.
Okay. So going back on that topic, actually, Mutabaat and Shawaahid are the final thing in the Mustalah. Before, it's just extra bits. Al-i'tibar. So i'tibar means to gauge, right? or to sort of have a criteria for مصدر اعتبر بمعنى الاعتبار نظر في الأمور ليعرف بها شيء آخر من جنسها. So checksum to sort of compare, right? Compare or gauge, try and understand something. That's what i'tibar is. And in the istilah of the muhaddithin, i'tibar is تتبع طرق حديث انفرد بروايته راو ليعرف هل شاركه في روايته غيره أم لا. Checking a chain of narration to see if another chain of narration complements it or not. This is al-i'tibar. Some people said as well about Ibn Salah that i'tibar, Mutabaat and Shawaahid are three different things, but Mutabaat and Shawaahid are type of i'tibar. This is what the scholars have clarified. A technique, yeah. Al-i'tibar is the technique of doing it. And there's two ways, al-mutaba'a. So al-mutaba'a, and it's called tabi', the follower. هو اسم فاعل من تابع بمعنى وافق, to complement. اصطلاحا هو الحديث الذي يشارك فيه رواته رواة الحديث الفرد لفظا ومعنى أو معنى فقط مع الاتحاد في الصحابي. You have one chain, you have another chain, right, of hadith. Completely different chains. I know from you, who narrates from you, who narrates from you, heard from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then he narrates from him, who narrates from him, who narrates from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So two different chains, one chain here, one chain there. These complements are called mutaba'at. So you'd say taba'a hadha sanad bi hadha sanad. So this sanad complements this sanad, and they give strength to each other. So when they give strength to each other, we're going to discuss that in a second. Where's my... Okay. All right. So you have mutaba. هو الحديث الذي يشار. Okay. Then you have shahid. Shahid means a testimony. So this hadith gives testimony for another. Witness or testimony, or this affirms that this happened. Okay. So this chain might be weak, but in the meaning, but this chain gives it some more strength. And there's two types of mutaba. Should come here. Mutaba. Okay, yeah, it's mentioned later on. Okay, al-i'tibar laysa qasiman lit-tabi' wa shahid. Again, this scholar has elucidated it. ربما يتوهم شخص أن الاعتبار قسيم للتابع والشاهد. اعتبار is a type of tabi' and shahid, but it's not. لكن الأمر ليس كذلك, وإنما الاعتبار هو هيئة التوصل إليهما. It's the technique of finding out متابعات. أي هو طريقة البحث والتفتيش عن التابع والشاهد. اصطلاح آخر للتابع والشاهد. وذكر من تعريف التابع والشاهد هو الذي عليه الأكثر وهو المشهور, لكن هناك تعريف آخر لهما. Okay, so some scholars have a different meaning of what a tabi' and a shahid is. Some scholars say التابع is a hadith أن تحصل المشاركة للرواة الحديث الفرد باللفظ. The hadith has to be exact wording. So some scholars only call this a mutaba. So I narrate from you, who narrates from him, who narrates from him. Who heard the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, actions are according to intentions. Someone heard from someone who said, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إنما الأعمال بالنيات والأعمال بالنيات. So one chain says إنما الأعمال بالنيات, and one chain says الأعمال بالنيات. Do they share the meaning?
Yeah, it says indeed.
Yeah. Do they share the wording?
No.
Nope. So according to this definition, is it tabi or not? It's not tabi. Because according to this definition, it has to be the same wording has to apply.
Oh.
Even if it's from the same Sahaba or different Sahabi. So if for example, this chain went back to you, this chain went back to you, the Sahabi narrating from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, two chains. This would be mutaba'at if the same love, same wording. If you had two different chains and one of the Sahabi narrates it, another one Sahabi narrates it, a different Sahabi narrates it. So this is a completely different chain. Someone else heard it from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This would be called tabi', right? If it shared the same love, if it shared the same wording. And shahid is أن تحصل المشاركة لرواة الحديث الفرد بالمعنى سواء اتحد الصحابي أو اختلف هذا وقد يطلق اسم أحدهما على الآخر فيطلق اسم التابع على الشاهد. And a shahid is where they share the meaning. So for example, this chain narrates إنما الأعمال بالنيات, actions according to intention. This chain narrates الأعمال بالنيات, right? They share the same meaning, actions are according to intentions, but they differ in terms of their wording. This will be called shahid. But sometimes some scholars call shahid tabi and tabi shahid. So some scholars have the same thing, they use the different definitions. Allah Ta'ala alam. But the goal is the same. كما يطلق اسم الشاهد والأمر سهل كما قال حافظ ابن حجر. So Hafiz ibn Hajar said that the affair is really easy. لأن الهدف منها واحد, because the goal is the same. وهو تقوية الحديث بالعثور على رواية أخرى للحديث. And this is for one hadith to give strength to another hadith, to complement a hadith and give strength to another hadith. Al-Mutaba'a. There's two types of Mutaba'a. So you have Mutaba'a Tamma and Mutaba'a Qasira. So Mutaba'a Tamma وهي أن تحصل المشاركة للراوي من أول السند. So you have Mutaba'a Tamma, a complete Mutaba'a, and a Mutaba'a Qasira, an incomplete Mutaba'a. An incomplete complement and a complete complement. That's how we'll translate it. A complete complement is where you have
Everything matching.
Everything matching. Yeah. So from the beginning of the chain to the end of the chain, from beginning of the chain to the end of the chain, there's Mutaba'a, right? And you have this Mutaba'a Tamma. Mutaba'a Qasira is where, in the middle of the chain, for example, you narrate from him, who narrates from him, who narrates from the Messenger of Allah. Mutaba'a Qasira would be, I narrate from him, who narrates from him, who narrates from the Messenger of Allah. This is not a full thingy, Mutaba'a. This is Mutaba'a Qasira. Or you go one person even further. So you narrate from him, who narrates from him, who narrates from him, who narrates from the Messenger of Allah. And then there's a different chain where someone else narrates from me, who narrates from him, who narrates from you, from the Messenger of Allah. There's two paths. This is called Mutaba'a Qasira. And there's examples given, for example, the hadith of Hammad ibn Salima, from Ayyub as-Sakhtiyani, from Ibn Sirin, from Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So Mutaba'a Tamma would be someone else other than Hammad ibn Salima narrates from Ayyub, who narrates from Ibn Sirin, who narrates from the Messenger of Allah. So this is Mutaba'a Tamma. So to make it short, the Messenger of Allah, he narrates this hadith to him, who narrates this hadith to him, who narrates this hadith to me. This is one chain. Again, the Messenger of Allah narrates to you, narrates to you, narrates to you, he narrates to you. This is another chain. This is Mutaba'a Tamma. There's another sanad, identical sanad, we share in the same teacher.
Only the final person.
Yeah, is different.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a different hadith. Okay. But, we share. This is Mutaba'a Tamma. But if, for example, you heard on one chain, the same hadith, I heard from a completely different chain, from a completely different person, from a completely different sahabi, the same hadith, even the word, meaning, whatever. This would be called Mutaba'a, but Mutaba'a Qasira. And this is where you have this issue of using of a weaker narration, right? And you're using this weak narration, but it has mutaba'at, it has shawahid. But the shawahid can share its meaning, and this gives strength to the weak narration. And I'll give you the example of this. So
you said shawahid has two categories, right?
No, Mutaba'at has two.
Mutaba'a.
Yeah, Mutaba'a has two categories. Mutaba'a Tamma, complete complement. Yeah. Mutaba'a Qasira, incomplete complement. So some people.
There is shahid.
So some people say incomplete complement. That's shahid. Some people say this is shahid. So it's just terminologies, but the objective is the same. So shahid, it doesn't matter which one you call which. They both give strength to the narration. So you say this hadith has a shahid, but what type of shahid? Tamma, Qasira. This sort of. So some people call Mutaba'a Qasira, they call it shahid, right? But again, some people, where it gets difficult is you need to know who says what. But the majority of the scholars, they have Mutaba'a Tamma, Mutaba'a Qasira, and shahid, Mutaba'a Qasira. I think this is what this scholar mentioned as well. So سأذكر مثلا واحدا مثلا مثل به الحافظ ابن حجر. Hafiz ibn Hajar mentioned this example وهو ما رواه الشافعي في الأم عن مالك عن عبد الله بن دينار عن ابن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنه قال الشهر 29 فلا تصوموا حتى تروا الهلال ولا تفطروا حتى تروه فإن غم عليكم فأكملوا العدة 30. Okay, so there's an example of a hadith narrated by Shafi'i in his book Al-Who narrates from his teacher Malik ibn Anas, who narrates from Abdullah ibn Dinar, who narrates from Abdullah ibn Umar, who said the Messenger ﷺ said, Ash-shahru 29, a month is 29 days, فَلَا تَصُومُوا حَتَّى تَرَوُوا الْهِلَالِ, so do not fast until you see the crescent, وَلَا تُفْطِرُوا حَتَّى تَرَوْهُ, and don't break your fast, i.e. celebrate Eid until you see it. And if it's obscure to you, فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ, if it's obscure to you, فَأَكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ 30, then complete 30 days. فهذا الحديث بهذا اللفظ ظن قوم أن الشافعي تفرد به عن مالك فعدوه في غرائبه. So a group of scholars, they thought that this hadith was تفرد به, meaning Shafi'i individually narrated this hadith. There's no other chain for this hadith except for this chain that Shafi'i narrated, and they said this is from the gharaib of Shafi'i. Right in the beginning we talked about khabar wahid, mashhur, aziz, gharib. Gharib is when there's one chain, so only one chain. لأن أصحاب مالك رواه عنه بهذا الإسناد بلفظ فإن غم عليكم فاقدروا له، لكن بعد الاعتبار وجدنا للشافعي متابعة تامة ومتابعة قاصرة وشاهدا. So because the students of Malik narrate this hadith with the same isnad but with a different word, they narrate it with, if it's obscure to you, فقدروا له, then sort of estimate, approximate, use your aql, الشمس والقمر بحسبان, the sun and the moon have been given, for calculation.
So on moon sighting.
This is moon sighting.
Yeah, so do we really have to see the moon, or can we rely on NASA's?
So according to the hadith of Shafi'i, he said, فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ, if it's obscure to you, then complete 30 days. No. But according to another chain of the hadith narrated by Malik students said that the same chain, everything the same, only the wording is a bit different, and that changes the complete meaning. فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ, if it's obscure to you, then approximate, estimate. Then use your aql, do this hisab. So this is where, they have two different schools of thoughts. Shawafid generally with the local sighting, and this with the global sighting.
Even the UK and the US, they look at the NASA, they don't look at the moon sighting.
They do, different groups, there's always difference of opinion, and this is why the difference of opinion. You have different narrations. So you have these two different narrations.
What do you think from your...
This is before Ramadan, I'll mention it. Whole discussion, big discussion. This is before Ramadan, inshallah. Only Ramadan is coming, only like 2 months away, 2-3 months. Yeah. So we have, so this after we found out this is actually the shahid, in terms of, the Prophet ﷺ saying, don't fast until you see the crescent, seeing the crescent. Some people use it as shahid. You have to see the crescent.
In my place, it's so divided.
Yeah, everywhere is divided. I mean, that's the thing. Saudi said it's fasting, that's why we're going to break. Even this Ramadan especially was a really bad one. In the beginning, on Eid, it was really bad. In the beginning, it was fine, and Eid was bad because some people said, oh, let's follow Saudi. Some people like, nah. Okay.
Because for prayers, we look at we look at the calculator for salahs, right? 5 times.
Yeah, that's true. So it's like,
we can discuss that.
Yeah, inshallah. Okay. And again, the month being 29, what about when there's 30-day months?
No, this is the Gregorian calendar when you talk about 30 days.
Yeah, even in the Islamic calendar, sometimes it can be 30 days as well, according to the moon sighting. So there can be 30 days of Ramadan. There can be 29 days of Ramadan. But the Messenger said, "Ash-shahru 29
I don't.
So a month is, he said the month is 29 days. The lunar calendar, there's 29 days to 30 days as well. A month can be 30 days. You can fast 30 days of Ramadan.
Yeah, you can. But
if you didn't see the moon on the 29th, you'll definitely see on the next day. Or it might be cloudy, but 30 days. So a month, but the Messenger sallallahu to 29 days. This is against aql.
I thought, I mean, moon and, I mean, what the ayah you read, right?
Yeah, it's a hadith.
No, in Surah Yasin, they have their own orbits and they don't
كالشمس والقمر
below
بحسبان.
yeah.
No, in Rahman.
That's in Ar-Rahman, yeah.
In Yasin, there is-
والشمس تجري لمستقر لها. And the sun has its own, it swims in its own orbit. Someone tried to tell me once, look, that we just believe in the Quran, the science doesn't make sense here. But it actually does in terms of modern astronomy. Yeah, but the person understood the ayah wrong. Who Allahu A'lam. Anyway, let's finish this discussion about Mutaba'ah. So you have the hadith of Bukhari, Abdullah ibn Salama al-Qa'nabi al-Malik bil-Isnad nafsihi. وفيه فإن غم عليكم فأكملوا العدة 30. أما المتابعة قاصرة فهو ما رواه ابن خزيمة من طريق عاصم بن محمد عن أبيه محمد بن زيد عن جده عن عبد الله بن عمر بلفظ فكملوا 30. وأما الشاهد فما رواه النسائي من رواية محمد بن حنين عن ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنه ما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال وفيه فإن غم عليكم فأكملوا العدة 30. Again, I think the point we talked about متابعة تامة متابعة قاصرة, and then there's another point about weak hadith and then them coming together. Sufyan, the hadith about the bagha as well, which is given in the Muqaddimah ibn Salah, that's the example given. But there's a point here, I think I saw it's in the Muqaddimah ibn Salah about Tamma Mutaba Qasira. I'm sure it's mentioned here. Okay, anyway, I can't find it, but I'll mention. Hafiz ibn Salah in Muqaddimah ibn Salah, which is the books, these are all based on Ulum al-Hadith. He mentioned that, a da'if hadith can also be a mutaba'ah, but with the condition that the da'if hadith isn't like really sort of excessive in its weakness. Should be here. I'll give you the example, okay, whatever. So the
hadith, why should we even consider?
So like I said, the da'if hadith, right in the beginning I said it's all a game of probability. The da'if hadith can actually be from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it's a certain type of da'if hadith. A da'if hadith, not because the narrator is a liar, because he's not telling the truth or not telling the truth a lot of the time. It's because of other reasons. He might have weak memory, but sometimes a weak memory person who has a weak memory can be telling the truth, or they can relay the information, or they can do ada as they heard, right? فَأَدُّوهَا كَمَا سَمِعَ. This mentioned in the praise of the muhaddithin, that they transmitted it just as they heard it. A da'if person can do this. So in Ibn Salah, there is he mentions that the da'if hadith which can be compensated for by other follow-up narrations, and they together they achieve the position of Hasan li ghayrihi. This is mentioned in the discussion of which so you have a da'if hadith with the riwayah, the person who narrates this hadith is da'if, and they will know some hadith really good, but all the hadith are affected. Every single hadith that they narrate from now on, we have to look at it a bit iffy, and it becomes da'if, right? Because obviously we take the deen from the hadith. Again, these da'if hadith aren't used for fiqh reasons, they're used for other reasons, but again a Hasan li ghayrihi hadith can be used for fiqh reasons as well, but we'll come to specific examples. But mention,
so you can't quote it anywhere because it's da'if.
You can't, for example, so many asanid.
We have to say all of this. See?
Yeah, you have to bring all the asanid, bring it together. They become, the man of the hadith becomes hasan li ghayrihi, because it becomes inconceivable that so many people are narrating this of different chains that never not met each other, but it's the same meaning. So there must be some incident, and this is only, you have to do this i'tibar. You have to use this technique of getting all the shawahid together, and one being a shahid. Is this capable of being a shahid or a tabi for another hadith? And what type of mutaba is it? Mutaba tamma, mutaba qasira. So
for all of the hadith that is there has been gone through all these techniques and categorizations, right?
yeah, but even
There's no work left for.
There is. That's the thing. I was
is there something that can do further?
Yeah, of course there is. Of course, there's so many books that haven't even been printed yet. In terms of there might be mutaba'at still in manuscript form. There might be mutaba'at because in the tradition of Islam, when people conquered, the Mongols conquered certain places, Baghdad, the whole river was black with the ink of the books. That's the first thing. When we went to Spain, there's this place, it's called the Madrasa of Granada. We went there, and when Ferdinand, this used to be the madrasa, they used to accept 5 to 25 students a year. These weren't just Islamic students, there were student poets, physicians, different types of students. They used to learn Arabic, they used to learn Islam, they used to learn all the different types of subjects. The building is still standing today. When Ferdinand came there, Ferdinand the Conqueror of 1492, Ferdinand and Isabella, the conqueror of Spain, they did the reconquest of Spain. They call it the reconquest, but how is it reconquest of Spain? Didn't even exist before then. This Spain as we know it today. He went there, he got all the books of the madrasa, he lit them, made them alight, and it was one of the biggest public bonfires in Europe that Europe has ever seen. Just the books, the ulum. Imagine so many books of hadith, ulum, fiqh, tib that were there, and they just burnt it, and he gave the building to the town hall. And that's probably the only reason why it's still standing today. This old building. So it's a sad reality, but it's true. So there could be some hadith in manuscript form, and there's still work left. Our Asatidha used to say.
Is there some institute doing this in Saudi? Or?
Everywhere, every mutakhassis, every student of takhassus fil hadith in the different countries of the world, there's still new research to do, new mutaba'at. A lot of the scholars have done a lot. I mean, I understand your question. Is how can there be hadith left to grade? What we need for our fiqh and everything of our daily lives, that's been done.
Yeah,
but for further,
if someone discovers a new hadith,
yeah,
we're going to get a new fatwa.
Yeah, but it won't be as dramatic because the hadith that we need for our deen, they are all complete. Yeah. Allah Ta'ala alam. And this is from the the fadl of Allah, that He's kept, even despite all these things that happened, all the wars and the books being the rivers going black with the inks of books. They used to bury the books of scholars. Ibn Hazm, I always mention his name, Al-Andalusi. We went to his place of Andalus in Spain. He used to roam the streets, and he in his final words he said, and there's the poetry about him, وَإِن تُحْرِقُ الْقِرْطَاسِ لَا تُحْرِقُ الَّذِي ضَمَّنْهُ الْقِرْطَاسِ بَلْ هُوَ فِي صَدْرِي. Even if you burn my books, if you burn the paper, right, that I write on, you're not going to be able to burn the person who the books reside within. So he's still going to be teaching, he's still going to be propagating. تَضَمَّنْهُ الْقِرْطَاسِ بَلْ هُوَ فِي صَدْرِي. It's in my heart. يَسِيرُ مَعِيَ حَيْثُ اسْتَقَلَّتْ رَكَائِبِي. It travels with me wherever my ride, wherever my horse travels. وَيُدْفَنُ فِي قَبْرِي, and it will be buried with me when I die. وَيَنْزِلُ إِنْ أَنْزِلْ, and if I come down from my horse, the knowledge with me will come down from my horse. وَيُدْفَنُ فِي قَبْرِي, and it will be buried with me when I go. So wherever I go, I'll spread this knowledge. Even if you try and burn my books, which they did try, they beat him up, they burned his books because they thought, this guy spreading corruption in terms of, people are not going away from the leaders, because, at that time, the leadership and Islam were tied together. And if you said something against the leadership, if you're a different scholar or have a different opinion, that was really, really bad. And you could get in trouble for it. He got in trouble for it. And he says this poetry, and he says, wherever I go, I'll spread it. دعوني من إحراق رق وكاغدي وقولوا بعلم كي يرى الناس ما يدري. Stop this ridiculous burning of paper and my books, and speak with insight, so that people may know. Speak and this is why Ibn Hazm, even though they tried to do this about his books, they tried to stop his legacy, still we say his name today because of amazing thoughts he had transcends towards time. He was a literalist scholar. You know, people view him as a heretic. Even today, people view him as someone not from Ahlul Sunnah, which is true. Some views he had were strange. I'll be honest with you, a bit strange. But wallahi, his thought and insight, his sincerity, by the way he writes, it's something that, you know, I think people who are in this tradition should go forward with and study him, because it's amazing. You know, his approach to literalism, why his take on literalism, which is a sort of different approach. So I think that concludes. Okay. I was talking about the da'if hadith giving strength to each other. And, you know, it's those da'if hadith that the rawi isn't muttahim bil kidhb, isn't someone who's accused of lying, and isn't, you know, someone who is a fasiq. That's why the da'if is a person who opens sinner. It's because, you know, they used to forget sometimes, and that's why this hadith is the hadith da'if. And these are the hadith that give strength to each other, and they together they give strength to each other, and they become a higher level hasan li ghayrihi. Allah ta'ala alam. And this is the end of the discussion of Mutabaat and Shawaahid. And in the end now, in the rest of this book, it's gone beyond the Mustalah, and now it's talking about an individual narrator. And we talked about why narrators are sort of disparaged, talking about biography, how they scrutinize people, basically. So this is towards the end of this book. Shall we read it next time? We'll finish for today. Or shall we continue the book and finish it, or shall we just go to something else? Finish. So again, after that, it took about 3-4. Inshallah. Yeah, it's nice. I mean, there's certain things, you know, understanding who the Sahaba are, what the definition of Sahaba. But a majority of them we've discussed already, but it's just, you know, touching upon that. You know, some lata'if of asanid.
Do you have plans to cover Sirah?
Sirah, yeah, I'm covering Sirah.
You are?
On Thursdays.
Okay.
Back again. Not here at the university. I'll send you the details. I'll send you the details, inshallah.
Oh, so you're supposed to
I started a long time ago, and there was an 8-week break, and I'm starting again tomorrow.
tomorrow. How easy is it? Can I come? Or-
Yeah, of course you can come. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
What uni?
Brighton. I'll send you the details after, inshallah. Okay, so we'll conclude this for today, inshallah. And now, alhamdulillah, we finished the Mustalah of Hadith. Alhamdulillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after a year, just over a year, it took us to finish. We have, you know, it was quite lengthy. Now there's things about adab al-muhaddith, the etiquettes of learning hadith, a few lataif of isnad, and a few other things, and then the book